This time on Cherry Picking, we tear down an old worn out motor to fix a new worn out motor, but then fail when we tear down the old worn out motor. But we tore down a motor. Let's get into it. Welcome back. And now you're probably thinking, what am I talking about? Using a worn out motor to fix a worn out motor? Well, to answer that, we got to go back a few months to when I was installing a rare factory Ford Muscle Parts Program aluminum C90X intake onto my 69 Mach 1 when, upon completing the installation, we started it up and destroyed a piston. Well, technically two, but we don't have to talk about that. One for sure got relatively destroyed. Now, we don't know what went down the intake, but I screwed up somewhere or there was something inside the intake. I'm not sure if it had ever actually been run. I don't know, but some sort of something was inside, got into the motor, and destroyed the number 4 piston. Now, that was all the way back in late May, early June, and since then, I've just been trying to figure out a way to get the car back on the road because I'm too afraid to drive it on that motor because that piston is really messed up, and I'm worried that if I run it any longer than what's on it currently, that I'm going to blow out the ringland and lose a ring, basically. And I don't want to do that because it was a relatively good-ish running motor. Now, it was a very worn-out motor, and it is not the factory motor that came in that car. It's actually from a way later date code. It is a 69 motor, but it's a much, much later one. So it's not even the original one to the car. So that brings us back to today. Now, interestingly enough, I have not had any of the parts on this property, basically, to fix that motor because on the entire almost 2-acre property I have here, I don't have a single other small block Ford. Every single thing I have is either a big block or a small block Chevy or a big block weird W series Chevy. We've got a few of those. But almost everything else is big block FE or 460 Ford 385 series. Except I have one motor that is a small block that is another 351 that is also from a 69. But it's actually from a 69 Cougar, and we'll talk about that. But you're probably wondering, what am I doing standing here in front of my old Mach 1 hood? Well, motor's in here, obviously. If you couldn't figure that out, sorry. But the goal for today's video is we're going to see if I can tear down this motor, which this motor is going to get rebuilt, probably relatively kind of soon. But I'm going to see if I can tear down this motor, see what was wrong with it, see if it's usable, and see if it has similar enough parts so that I could steal a piston and rod out of it and throw it into my car just to get it running. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's hack. And you're right. It's extremely hack. In fact, it's the most hack thing I've ever done, using a used piston with used rings, used bearings on a used motor that already came from a used worn-out motor. It's bad. So I strongly recommend you don't do this, but I'm going to, because I'm desperate. And that's what happens when people get desperate. They do hack things. So the plan is to basically tear this thing down, see what's wrong with it. I already kind of have an idea of what potentially is wrong with it, because I do kind of know where it came from. Now, when I bought my Mach 1, the car actually came with a lot of parts. I bought it from my father, and I kind of told him in the deal that anything that was for the Mach 1 that he had saved up in the past few years, or past 30 years really, was included in the deal. So I had a lot of extra parts, including a bunch of extra parts that were in the car that you can see if you go back and look to our first video of me getting it and cleaning it out, as well as extra parts including a motor. Now, like I said, I only have big blocks pretty much on this property, Fords, except for this one motor, because this motor was actually purchased 20 plus years ago by my father out of a running driving Cougar to be a correct motor for the Mach 1, because the numbers on this motor are much closer to the actual production date that my Mach 1 had. So the motor that's in it is from a way later date, like a way late 69 motor, May or something like that. This motor is much closer. It is a September build motor, which is when my car was built. So the intention was he bought this motor to throw in that car eventually to make it more factory numbers correct. But this motor had an issue, and we'll get into that. But first things first, I got to get in there, and the very first thing I'm going to do is actually throw a borescope down it, because I don't know anything about this motor. All I know is that it's a factory 69 two-barrel off of a Mercury Cougar. The only other thing I know about it is that it smokes. Now, I'm not entirely sure why it smokes, but I have a guess that it's just a worn out motor. And the thought is that it's a completely bone stock original miles motor that has never been apart. We're gonna find that out today, hopefully. So I'm gonna grab a borescope, we're gonna take out a spark plug, and we're just gonna throw it down the cylinder walls, double check that it's actually what we think it is, and see if we can try to find on the top of a piston to make sure that it's standard bore and not overbored. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a borescope, I'm going to take out a spark plug, stick it in, and see if I can see any writing on top of the piston, make sure it's the same style piston, should be a dish top style piston if it's a 2-barrel, and hope that it's not bored over at all and that it's a standard size piston. Because if it's a standard size piston, I can rip it out of here and throw it into my motor, which also has standard size pistons, and hack it together, throw it back together to get it running and driving so that I can drive my car until this motor eventually gets built and thrown in my car. So let's go take a look at the motor first. Now here's the motor, and as you can see, it's kind of rough. It clearly has been sitting a long time, covered in oil, covered in grease. Now, if you watched one of my last videos a few months back, I actually did show this motor and explain that this would be the motor that ends up in my Mach 1, probably in the video that I broke the motor in. Honestly, I can't remember. It's been so long and time's fleeting. Anyways, this motor, to my dad's knowledge, was a very original low-mile car motor. Well, low miles, but was completely worn out. And as you can tell, it kind of looks that way. Now, it's got no exhaust manifolds on it because I actually stole the exhaust manifolds to put on my car when I first got my car running because I didn't have any. So, it's kind of been sitting out here without exhaust manifolds for a while. But I've never done anything to it. I've never looked at it. It's been sitting here on a tire, and it's actually been sitting on the side yard of my house for 20 plus years at this point. Now, as I'm squatting down here in the dust and the grime and the dirt and the wetness, because, well, we just had a bunch of rainstorms here in Southern California, and it finally cleared up to a nice sunny day, which is why I decided to do this right now. I'm also noticing that there is a dipstick missing. Thankfully, it's been under a relatively waterproof little lean-to, but hopefully it's not too bad inside. So the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything, because this won't matter at all if this is not standard bore. If it's not standard bore, I gotta check my car again, but I'm 99 to 100% sure that my car is also standard bore because when I took it apart, it looked completely normal, so to speak. And the pistons didn't have any markings on them that would explain if it was 30 over or 40 over or anything like that. I do have to double check it because it also has disc chop pistons, probably from a 2-barrel. Now in 1969, Ford actually made the 69 351 Windsor motor identical from the 2-barrel to the 4-barrel, except for a few things. But the block, the crank, and the rods are identical from a 4-barrel to a 2-barrel. The difference is in the cam, as well as the springs, and then the pistons. In 69, the 4-barrel 351 would have been optioned with flat-top pistons that gave a compression ratio of 10.7 to 1, according to Ford. Now, the 2-barrel version got a dish top piston that made it closer to 9.5 to 1. It also got a slightly milder cam that the 4-barrel had a little bit hotter cam to it. But other than that, they're virtually identical. So, because this motor may be low mileage or just worn out, I'm hoping that it has a good piston in it because I can just steal it out of this one and throw it in that guy. And now, I really recommend you don't do this, if I haven't already mentioned it. I know I did. But don't do this. It's bad. But I want to drive my car, and that motor is eventually going to get built up and completely rebuilt and blown apart, and this motor is going to get built, and it's going to get flat tops back in it, so I don't really care if I'm missing a piston. You get what I'm putting down? Anyways, I'm going to go ahead. First things, I'm going to pull a spark plug, which, well, that hasn't been off in 30 years, and I'm going to pull this spark plug out, and we're going to stick a borescope down it, and I really got to get up because my knees can't handle this. Probably have to make some room, too. Oh, boy. I got to squeeze in here with this guy. Can't even turn my foot in here because I didn't really plan on doing this today, to be honest. Did a oh gosh, okay, gotta kind of squeeze in here because I didn't move anything to make this easier on myself. I didn't exactly plan on doing this today. This morning went to a Cars and Coffee at a local diner, Emma Jean's, if you ever heard of it. Been in some movies. been operating since 1947. Pretty cool place, go there often. They started doing cars and coffee, and so I took the wagon. But I'm going to go ahead and take this factory Mercury air cleaner off, and, well, there's a 2-barrel. Still got a tag on it. Looks like it's never been touched. I've actually... Oh, look at that. Autolite C9ZF-B. I'd be willing to guess that is the exact correct factory carb for a 351 2-barrel for a 69 Cougar with an automatic transmission. Willing to bet that's what the B is. A might be manual. I'm not actually an expert, but I can figure it out later. It's even got an Autolite choke on it. That's actually sweet. Here, come take a look at this real quick. Now that we can get a better look at this guy. There's the tag that I just wiped off with about 30 years of dirt. As you can see, it's thick on there. And then even the choke, which you may or may not be able to tell, says Autolite. So, pretty sweet. That's a factory Autolite carb. We'll probably end up keeping that, honestly, because I could use 2 barrels. But let's take the spark plug out. All right. Let's take this spark plug out. Let's take a look at it. Well, tell you what, this one's not super oily. It is an Autolite spark plug, BF42. I think that was the factory spark plug, but we got to make sure that these pistons are standard, because if they're not, then the whole point of doing this is thrown out the window, and this just turns into a rebuild. So let's get the borescope out. This is just one from Amazon. It's super cheap, but honestly, for how cheap it was, I think it works pretty well. And it's what I got actually when I blew up the motor in my 69 Mach 1. That was a really rough day. You think you do everything right, and then you make one mistake. Never live it down. But this was going to happen anyways, so on to better things, I guess. I don't know. Let's stick this down there. Okay, so we got the camera going. It's bright. Let me put you down there, I guess. There's the hole. There's the piston, which... Huh. That's not what I expected to see, actually. That looks to be a dished piston. However, that is not the dished piston I was expecting. You can see the dish line there. And more importantly, this does not match the other piston. Let's see if I can see any marks in it. A little bit of carbon buildup. So kind of hard to see. Seeing some crud in there, although that could be from me dropping it in. See the cross hatching. It's actually a little aggressive for the cross hatching, I think, because, I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's factory. It just looks a little aggressive to me. Alright, let's pull it out. The only thing about this camera is it's a little stiff. Alright, well, kind of, there goes that plan. These are not the same pistons as what's in my car. Turn it sideways, see if we can see anything noticeable. There's the valve, some carbon on it. Quite a bit, actually. Nothing looks particularly bad, except for that, wherever that is. That kind of looks gross. Can't really tell if that's... Well, that looks to be... Kind of looks like rust pitting, to be completely honest. It could be oil, but that looks a little bit like water. Spin it some more. There's the other side. Valve that's open. Well, okay then. Well, that changes my day a little bit, because I thought they were going to be exactly the same, and if you look back at the pictures or videos from what my motor had in it, which... Let's be honest, my motor probably was rebuilt at some point. It had later style dish top pistons, I believe. These ones I'm going to have to do some research on, because I thought they all looked like the giant dish tops that are in my car. This one looks quite a bit different, but they're very clearly dish tops. I'm going to go ahead and pull another spark plug out real quick, and we'll just check it. And again, this one looks totally fine. A little bit of carbon buildup, but... Nothing crazy. So, set this, just find in every possible place. Alright, let's go in again. This time on this one. And same thing, there's a spider web in this one. A lot of carbon buildup in this this one. Well, yeah, lots of cross-hatching noticeable, along with some up and down streaks, I guess. To be completely honest, the cross-hatching looks a little aggressive to me, like I mentioned, and it looks like it's hard to tell if there's actually rust in the cross-hatching. Oh, but that looks like rust. Not bad, but it looks like it. There's the notch that points for the piston. Yeah, I don't know. This motor definitely hasn't been rebuilt. So maybe we're not going to be as hack as I thought we were going to be. Still complicates things though, because that means that I can't really fix my motor with a quick piston, because I don't have any more. This was my plan. I didn't have a plan B. It's kind of on me, I guess. Well, guess let's get it on an engine stand anyways. And we could probably tear into it and look into it more. Alright, well, unfortunately, I can't really get ow, my ankle. I can't really get a regular engine hoist in here, so I'm kind of working with an unusual set of tools. This is actually a people lift for, like, hospitals, and, well, I thought I'd try it out. The max weight is 600 pounds, and there's no way that this full small block is 600 pounds, right? Well, we'll see how it goes. I've got some chains hooked up to it. I'm going to bolt them somewhere, and then we're going to get it lifted. And hopefully it lifts high enough, but it's got this nice wraparound leg system that I'm kind of hoping will work for this. Now, I'm definitely going to have to balance it, but I think I can do this. Can't come back any further, unfortunately. Now, like I mentioned before, in '69, the motors are virtually identical besides valve springs, pistons, cam, and then the intake, obviously. But the heads are the same. So 69 4-barrel heads are the same as 2-barrel heads. In '70, that changed, obviously with the introduction of the Cleveland motor. But, yeah, let's see. It kind of sticks out a little bit further than I kind of wanted it to. So it's going to be hard to get this thing correctly attached. Okay, so I've got the motor kind of chained. I actually had to redo the way I did my chains. And I've just got 2 exhaust manifold bolts stuck in through the chains. To be completely honest, I don't know if these chains are strong enough. I don't know if the load is balanced. I really don't know how this is going to go, but we'll try and lift it. Oh, there it goes. Hopefully nothing pops. It's shaking quite a lot. Oh, well, there that goes. Well, first thing I'm going to do, I guess, is take off the flywheel, because we're going to need that off. We need the block plate off. So hopefully these chains don't do anything crazy. Move this flex plate. Don't forget the ring, and then last but not least, the block plate. Oh, well, dowel pin came out with it, so we'll have to put that back in eventually. For now, that is that. There's stuff that is nasty back here. Okay, so theoretically, this thing should be able to accept my thing. Probably can't see anything. Let me turn you around. We've got this guy, which I should probably put this way. Alright, I found better bolts. Don't know what they came out of. I've got 3 that match. And 1 that does not. Alright. Now that should be good to hold the weight. The scary part is this has got to go really high. And even though this lift is made for 600 pounds, I'd rather not push its limits. Now this is where the fun part comes in, where I have to somehow maneuver a engine stand and see if I could slide this thing back and get it on. So let's definitely a little stressed, but we'll spin it around. Slide the engine stand underneath this lift, so that's gonna help. I have to go up. This is sketchy. I don't know how much more I can go. 3 inches. Oop. There we go. Okay. Okay, you can't really see, but it's on there. Kind of sketchy like. And I'm kind of thinking I actually need to lower the whole thing down. No, because once I take the intake and the heads off, it'll be fine. So let me reposition. So again, this is probably not the way to do this. However, I don't really have a better alternative at the moment. Stable enough? Okay. Now the fun part. All right. Those bolts are out, which means this thing can now probably raise it back up to get it out of the way. Worked pretty well. Now I gotta scoot the engine forward. Let me take this thing out. Alright, and now that we've got it on the engine stand, it's starting to get dark out. I don't know if you can tell the light's changing. It's only about 3:30, but these winter months, it's dark by 4:30. So, we are going to take care of this another day. So I'll see you in a second. Don't go anywhere. I'm watching. Alright, well, it's the next day, and since we're kind of changing directions, can't use pistons inside this motor to fix the other one, we're going to continue on just tearing it down because I need to anyways. I've got to figure out the specifications all inside the block. I am 95% sure the entirety of this block is completely standard. I don't think this motor has ever been torn apart. The pistons that you saw in there earlier, those are relatively early 69 2-barrel pistons. They went to a different style in, I believe, late 69 or early 70. And that style is similar to the one that's in my Mach 1 currently, that large oval oblong dish, rather than the reliefed circular dish. From what I can tell, at least, that is earlier 69, early to mid 69, maybe even early 70. And they're not super common, apparently, at least not anymore. So we still got to take this thing apart. I do think it's standard, but I'm going to go ahead and just start knocking this thing down. First thing I'm going to do here is drain the oil. I don't know if there's oil in it. It's probably mixed with water a little bit, maybe. We'll find out. But we'll drain it and then start taking off the top end and saving all the parts and go on from there. So let's do it. All right. Yeah, that's actually going to be perfect. That is really tight. All right. Let's see how this oil is. Well, there's no water in it, and it's as black as can be, but it looks like oil. It smells like old oil. Conventional. Yep, definitely. Oh, I'm missing. Well, shoot, why didn't you tell me? Yeah, I just leaked about a gallon on the ground there. Gonna have to clean that up. Sweet. Can't wait to clean that. I gotta get a rag. All right, we've got the oil drained, so now it's time to take everything off the front and the top of the motor, so the intake and water pump and all the accessories on the front, whatever's left. because this thing was plopped out of a running driving car. So everything was left on it. So we're gonna zip it all off. Alright, well, I'm back. You didn't go anywhere, but I did. It's been a few days. Got wet, it rained. Humidity was crazy. It's now cold. The weather's changed, it's winter. So now I'm in my best Canadian tuxedo, and we're gonna keep tearing this thing apart because I may or may not have solved some of the parts issues. So let's get cracking on this thing. Let's keep tearing it down. I need to take the valve covers off, take the intake off, take the rockers and rocker assembly off, and then take the heads off. And probably also do, well, I don't know what else. We'll actually probably leave the timing chain and everything on there because I don't think that's gonna tell us anything at the moment. So we'll leave the timing cover on, but we'll take the intake and all the heads off just so we can get our measurements, and then we'll flip this thing around and check all the rods. I'm gonna pop these valve covers off first. Of course, using the wrong size immediately, because the rockers will tell us a lot on how the rest of the engine's doing. At least I hope they will. There it is. Pop, and there's the inside. And it looks good, actually. Let me show you. A little bit grimy, but not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. A little bit of sludge there. But, well, under the valve cover is actually really nice. I mean, it's old and grimy, but it's not all nasty. It's clean and uniform. So, that's good. As you can see, nothing too crazy. So, that's a plus. Looks good. Nothing unusually loose, just standard valve train. A little bit of rust, maybe. No, not rust. Those are factory markings, I think. That's paint marks. That's interesting. There's yellow paint marks there, and looks like green there. And some more green right there. Wow. That's interesting. So, that looks good. Let's do the other side. They actually look nicer than my motor did when I first took the valve covers off, so there's that. And they're coming off very cleanly. This side, wow. This side doesn't look terrible, but it looks very dry and sooty. And definitely has a lot more gunk underneath. Well, let me show you. If you look at this side, it looks like dry and sooty almost compared to this side. See how it kind of looks oily and there's a slight sheen? This side's like dry. That's kind of unusual. I mean, it's got a little bit of sludge, but it's just kind of weird looking, to be honest. Doesn't look bad. Anything out of the ordinary? That one's quite a bit loose. That, I believe, is looser than it should be. Not a lot, but definitely, yeah, that one's loose. That one I can actually pick up on. So, one valve that's been acting funny. Now, furthermore, on this being a very early motor for a 69 motor, the date code on the heads actually reads as 8H27, which to my understanding that would decode to H is August, the 27th of August, and then 8 being 1968, which makes this a very late August build. Alright, got myself the coffee can, and, well, I'm going to, with careless abandon, I'm going to take all these rockers and push rods out with the right size. I am not going to label these or anything. Probably not going to use them, since if I'm putting a cam in here, I got to put lifters in here. And springs, etc., etc. Tell you what though, these are the cleanest looking nuts I've ever seen. Anyways, These have definitely never been taken off. At least they don't look like it. They look like they were put on the factory. They're still holding pressure. Guys off, and we're just dropping them in. And the push rods look real nice. I mean, they're not corroded or nasty. I don't know if you can see those, but they look pretty good. So we'll just throw them in here. Yeah, these last two are pretty sooty, but other than that, they look fine. All right, and now the intake, which is just a crap ton of 1/2-inch bolts. It's making noise. You hear that? It's like the suction or something pulling on them. Okay, we'll drop all of these intake bolts in a bag. These are nice factory bolts too. My other 351 is using some generic bolts that are not factory or nice. Got like 4 washers on them. There we go. Whew, that was on there. That's definitely never been off. All right. Let's see if I can get this bad boy out. Break the seal. Oh, it smells like gas. All right. There we are. And not the worst. Definitely wouldn't say the best, but it's not the worst. Definitely got a little bit of soot and carbon buildup and just a lot. Real nasty, this stuff. Let's look in it. All right, and if we just take a little dive in here, you can see it's actually clean other than a lot of this little carbon buildup. But I just checked all the lifters spin, and I can even pull this one right out. It's not mushroomed or anything. And it's got a little bit of bluing on it. You can't really see it on camera. But they appear to be in really good shape, actually. They slide really nice, and they all spin. So this motor was in good shape, other than we think the piston rings is what made this motor just not be as good anymore. It smoked really bad, to my dad's understanding. And we can kind of see how that would be the case, considering this is a really original motor. It's still got the original gaskets that are, I think, asbestos or something similar to that they used. But it all looks pretty original so far. So let's take heads off now. All right, well, we're going to see if this little 3/8 can even do this. It can, it looks like, so. Something stinks. Oh my god. Pulled those head bolts out and something smells. Just gonna set these in there for now. Ooh, this is gonna be tight. I don't want this falling, but it's definitely tight. Okay, I think I got it to move a little bit. There we go. Just took a little persuasion. Yeah, it looks sooty. Nothing surprising necessarily, except for that. Some serious carbon buildup, that's for sure. But there we go. That is our head. Head gasket came clean off, which is nice. And yeah, it's got these, from what I researched, it's got these early dish pistons. They're slightly different than the late, actually they're pretty dramatically different than the later dish style pistons, and I'll show you the difference. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's get on in here and take a look. And as you can see, there's the one side. Nothing necessarily surprising or alarming, but you can see this is the early style dish. It has the valve reliefs in it with a circular dish that's quite dramatic. It's probably 3/16 of an inch deep or close to it. The cylinder walls, well, they look all right. They're definitely glazed, especially this one. Definitely got ring ridge. Catch your fingernail on in there. But nothing that a quick dingle ball can't fix, as long as everything measures within spec, which is where we're going next. We need to get a gauge and actually measure the bore. I'm pretty sure this is exactly a 4.0 bore, but we're going to double check. All right, well, I'm going to be using the wrong tool for the right job. This is probably not what I should be using, this caliper. Really need a dial bore gauge to get an exact measurement, especially to see how much is out of round. However, this is going to get us a close enough depiction of if these cylinders have been bored 30 over or if not. So we're just going to take this guy using the insides and come all the way out. Okay, and it's actually giving us a undersized measurement, 10 under, which is probably because of the ridge. Oh, there we go. There's it. Yep. And it barely fits in there. But there you go. Focus on this. There you go. On 0 and 4. That is exactly a 4.0 stroke instead of a 4.030, which means this motor, I'll check some other ones just to be sure, but it means this motor has never been bored, which is not surprising. Yeah, exactly 4.0. Well, that's nice. That means this motor's never been touched, which is good. That pretty much means that as long as I don't see any other dramatic concerns on the other side, and we spin this over a few times, we'll double check everything, should be good to go for a dingle ball rehone. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey, go take it to a machine shop. And you know what? No, because I'm not paying for that. I don't have money for that. And really, I just want to drive my car. And this isn't going to be the final motor anyways. So we're just going to get this thing up and running. Because, you know, as a wise man once said, don't get it right, just get it running. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's continue taking this thing apart. And then we'll check the rod bearings, because those are the next important things. And if all that looks good, then by golly, we're going to clean this thing up and, well, hopefully build it in another video. Let's keep going. And it looks about the same on this side, actually a little bit better, but I'll show you. And as you can see, all about the same. Maybe even a little bit better, but same dish pistons. Alright, and continuing on, I'm going to get this bad boy flipped. That means I got to take out all the lifters, because I don't want them dropping out when I roll it over. Hopefully they're not all mushroomed. Well, that one is. I know one of these isn't, because I took it out. Almost just dropped it. We'll see how many of these are stuck in there. Alright, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them didn't want to come out, but that's alright. They'll just be pushed out from the back side eventually. Not really worried about it right now. I just want to check rod bearings. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up on our motor mount. Should be able to spin this thing around. Dump everything else. Oh, some coolant left in it. Nasty coolant. There we go. So now I'm going to take all the oil pan bolts off and take the oil pan off, which doesn't look crushed. It's got a... I definitely scraped at one point, but it's not crushed. The one on my car is completely crushed in. I actually don't know how it had good oil pressure, but not my problem. And on the bottom of the block, C9 or C8. Can't actually tell because it's so nasty. Oh, yeah, C9OE 615, 6015. C9OE 6015-E. B, D, B, B. 22, 8H22, which would be August 22nd, 1968, which is right about in line to where my car would have been built. My car was final assembled on September 9th, I believe, if I remember correctly, of 1968, September 9th, 1968. This is August 22nd. Probably a little bit close casting-wise, but these early cars, they're a lot closer together than some of the later cars where they could be 2 to 3 months casted before, depending. Oh, there's food for me. I'll be back. All right, food has been eaten. Now it's time to take this oil pan off, which apparently they're all 7/16, except for the front and back. There we go. Pop the seal. And there we go. Wow, looks very clean inside. Ooh. Oil pan, not so much. There is a lot of stuff in the bottom of that oil pan. Some gasket material and what looks to be some chunks. Oh yeah. Huh. There is a lot of chunky material. I can't tell if it's metal or maybe old valve stem seals or something that broke off. Well, I got a magnet. Let me try it. And none of it's metal. None of it wants to stick to the magnet. So, I'm assuming it's other gasket material and similar. We'll check the whole oil pan. There's stuff on the pickup tube too. None of it's metal. So, that's a good sign, I guess. Nothing's broken in here specifically. Check our timing chain. Can't tell. Alright, well, here's a pretty good look of the bottom end of this motor. As you can see, it looks relatively clean. If you can't tell, it's clean. Just old and worn out and gold tinted from years of use and oil. I did notice that I have one piston. I think this is number 7. Wait. No. This is number 3. Piston number 3, there is a slight crack in the skirt. I thought they were all good, but I looked closer. There is a crack, and I'll try to show you that if I can. That seems to be a very common problem for these cast 69 pistons. The skirts tend to crack, apparently. I don't know. Which, I wasn't planning on using these pistons anyways. If they were all good, theoretically I have all the parts. I could just slap this thing together, dingle ball hone it, and run it. But that piston skirt is cracked, and I don't want to use these pistons. They're dish pistons. They give it a 9.5 to 1 compression, which is totally fine. That's probably perfectly good for street use. But from factory, the M codes in 69 ran 10.7 to 1 compression, which is pretty high, but I'd like to get back to that if I can. So that's the goal. Anyways, I'm going to take one of these rod caps off because I want to see what the bearings look like. We'll keep that on there. There we go. Just gotta tap the top. We'll take a look at these bearings, which say Ford right on them. And I'll tell you what, bearing's not on it. That's weird. The bearing just fell off and stayed with the rod. That's interesting. Now the fun part, I have to get this off, and it's suction cupped with oil to the rod. Come on, buddy. There we go. All right, take a look at this bearing since it just fell right out of the rod. And it's got the Ford stamp right in it, C9OE-62H. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's the Ford stamp in it. I don't know if you can see it right there, but it's there. I'll take a look at the bearing itself, and to be honest, it looks fine. I mean, it's got a little bit of wear and heat, but there's no copper showing from what I can see. Like, I don't see any copper or anything showing, so it's actually relatively in good shape. So this motor probably would have ran fine on these bearings. Yeah, there's a little bit of heat wear, but not seeing a lot. Not enough to see the copper, or the coating's not stripped off at least, so it's kind of anticlimactic. It'd be more interesting if it was burned up. Well, we'll go ahead and slide this guy back on and just throw these bolts on here because we're gonna redo them anyways. We're gonna take off basically everything at some point, just not right now. All I care about now is just checking these bearings, and they're standard bore. So now I'm gonna take off one of the main caps. We're just gonna check one. Probably do this outside one because it's right here. Whew. That stinks. Oh my god, that stinks. That smells horrible. What did I just unleash? That smells horrendous. Oh! Wow. I don't know what I just unleashed, but that smells bad. Take a look at this guy. And mains look a little bit more worse for wear than the rod bearings do. They look, I mean, it looks even. That's for sure. Crank feels good. No, nothing catching. Here's a little bit of a scrape right here, but barely enough for my fingernail to catch. It's barely in there. Might just need a very, very minimal polishing. But bearing itself looks like all copper to me. That could just be what it looks like, but that looks like the coating's gone. I'm seeing two symmetrical scores around the outsides. I don't know if you can see those, but they're not deep. In fact, I can't even catch my fingernail on those. Whew, this thing stinks. But well, that's kind of it. It's just an old worn motor. That's really all it is. So what I'm gonna do now is kind of just cover this thing back up temporarily, because until I'm ready to build it, it's gonna have to sit for a minute. Got to get some pistons, and well, we've got some other goodies that we already have, so you'll see that next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to let me know, leave a like, comment, subscribe even if you want to see more content like this. We're gonna be building a motor pretty soon for that 69 Mach 1, and hopefully she's a relatively stock ripper, but a ripper nonetheless. So, thank you so much. See you next time.